everyone, welcome back to Wonder of Faith. I'm Anthony Bush, and today we're moving right along with talking about the Wondrous Orders. So, as always, here it is, the Wondrous Orders, authored by me. You can find it on Amazon, and I'll leave a link in the description below. So, we're still in the section that talks about the importance of heart, or loving ourselves, others, and God. And this will be our last episode in this topic, in this particular order of the collection of orders. And we've come across our first, what is known as a Premier Doctrine. So this one's separate from the other three we've discussed because it requires a use of all our virtues that we've talked about so far in order to accomplish some greater and more complex good. So this Premier Doctrine deals with the conservation of hope. So today we're going to be focusing on the importance of hope and how it plays a role in our daily lives, as well as our role to be a servant to others. So under the Doctrine for the Conservation of Hope, it says, "Hope for the purification of the soul, in that the continuing journey in love can be made certain. It is through hope that all change of good comes about. Let that hope be solely in the Lord." So hope is truly important to any member of the Christian faithful. It sits besides charity and faith as the three evangelical virtues. And so it's equally important because in order to continue in faith, to continue to be there for others, we have to hope for the good that is to come, even though we can't see it right now. It relates to faith because it's putting trust in something unseen, or something that's not at the moment visible to the senses or to the mind. And with hope, we work toward betterment of self and of the world in general, because we believe that if we try hard enough and if we listen to God and take advantage of the grace He gives us, we can turn that hope into a reality. Because God, in His love and never-ending power, can do anything He wishes, including bring to the world what it needs, if only we hope for it. So we'll get started right along with number 1. Always hope for a better world, no matter the evils that are faced. So hope is most powerful when hopelessness seems inevitable, when it seems like there is no way that we can get out of the current situation we're in. It's at these moments that we think, we have passion toward what seems unlikely, and that is hope, to believe that the betterment can come, even when it seems all avenues toward that betterment are lost. That's the beautiful thing about faith in general, is that we, as Christians especially, can defy what the world has told us is true. We can see what looks like a hopeless case and find hope in it, and then in the end accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, all for the glory and good of God, of course. Number 2. When faced with conflict, turn to hope, first as to resolve conflict in faithful optimism. So before we give up, or before we may go down avenues that are not good for ourselves, including those avenues of sin, we must always turn to hope first, and only, because hope will not give in, will not give up on us ever. If we truly feel like we are unable to go forward at the task at hand, then the first thing we have to do is pray, and within our prayer have hope that we can accomplish a good. It may not be the good that we're shooting for, at least at that time, but there's something that can come from it. And then through small showings of hope, in the end we can accomplish a greater good, an all-powerful good. And this, of course, is mirrored in salvation history. It seemed all was lost whenever original sin entered human nature, that we were destined to die into the ground, and yet our Lord came and the crucifixion occurred, and now we are given the ability to have everlasting life again. The hope that the prophets had and that the people had, that God had a plan for them, allowed them to hold on to what they had and not just give in or give up because it seemed like it wasn't happening right away. And now, post death of Jesus, we look for the ultimate hope, which is, of course, the end of the world, when good will triumph finally and ultimately and unconditionally as well. And so as we wait for that, we don't know when it's going to be, of course, only God knows. We have to be strong. And that doesn't mean buying a bunch of barrels of food or stocking up because the end times are among us, but it does mean in faith and in prayer being ready at every moment to welcome God into our lives, because we truly don't know when the end will come. That doesn't mean we shouldn't live our life accordingly, because we have hope, once again, that God has the best plan for us each individually and as a whole people of Him, as the kingdom, as one kingdom. And so always have hope, and don't let other darker aids work their way into your life or my life, because in the end they will lead to nothing that is good, while hope can lead to everything that is good. Number 3, remember that there is never a case that is a lost cause when it comes to the state of the soul. So hope doesn't only have to do with us having hope resting in God, but hope in others. If others seem to be falling away from what is good, or it seems that a soul may be a lost cause, that's never the case. There's always a chance that they can come to what is true. This goes for anyone, including those imprisoned or those who have done despicable things, because as children of God, we should want what's best for them and want them to join us in the heavenly kingdom. And so we can never lose hope that they can convert, because in the end, it's our job as children of God to show them what is true, what is good, and what they're capable of in goodness, because everyone has that capability through God's grace that's freely given. And so always have hope that even in this moment, if we can't change someone for the better, that through time and through God's plan for them, they can come to know Him and be a better version of themselves. And of course, this doesn't mean that we have to be the only one to help them. There's many people, many experiences planned, I'm sure, that will get them to where they need to be. But the ultimate thing is they have to choose it in their free will to take God's offer, take the plan He has for the individual. If this isn't done, then the way forward will be very hard and be quite a struggle. So in that hope that we can have hope that that person chooses what is right. Even though we cannot force them to choose it ourselves, we can hope and educate them of that choice and why it's such an important one. Number 4, do not pass judgment on others, as that would hinder the hope placed in them. So this kind of goes along with the last rule. If we lose hope in a person, then that means we have lost hope in their ability to be good, or their ability to triumph over evil. And that pretty much negates our ability to help them in any way we can. The hope has to be maintained. And at the same time, we can't let their faults get in the way of that hope. Because if we see them as lesser than or incapable of being a good person, then the ability for us to help them is gone. We have to constantly find the good in them, even if it's buried very deep inside. Everyone has the ability to move forward and be saved in the end. That's always been the Christian view. And it doesn't stop now, despite what may be said presently or publicly. There's always hope, and everyone has a chance. Number 5, hope every day for the conversion of the world to the will of God. So not just on the level of the individual, but as a world, as a society, as a people, we have to hope and pray for its well-being. Because our mission and what we're trying to accomplish is a world conversion to the truth of God's church, of His kingdom, of salvation itself. And it may seem like a daunting feat, in fact it is, but if we all do our part, I believe that more and more souls every day can come into communion with the church that Jesus established. I have no doubt about that. It may be slow, it may seem fruitless for the time being, but I think over time we can make a difference and people can come to understand once again. I know that modernism kind of seems like people are just doing the opposite, or moving away from truth and going toward other areas of what they call success, and that's undeniable. But I think in the end, everyone can come back to what is true, even if it seems that they've taken a respite. Usually, pattern-wise, I see a lot of adults return after they've taken some time away from the church or from Christianity in general. Life being hard at times seems to have an effect on people, and brings them back intuitively to what's important, and that's, of course, having a relationship with God and receiving the sacraments in full communion. So we can hope for those days. We can establish and put down the seed right now, as the Bible tells us, but it's going to take time. It's going to take their free will to bring them back to where they need to be. And we have to have hope in God that that plan is underway for every individual, and not just certain people, but all people. Number 6, when others lack hope, be the one that stands with them. So there are certainly people who are hopeless. And it's in those times that we have to have enough hope for the two of us, for the one who's hopeless and us. Because who's going to show them the way forward if it's not going to be us? Sometimes I think we want everyone else to do it and say, it's not our job, it's someone else's job. But if everyone had that mindset, then no one would be helped. And no one would be shown the beauty of hope and the greatness of hope. And so we have to be stewards of hope in that we show them how hopeful we are, and in turn teach them the importance of having hope for themselves. And as always, being an example of that, of just being a Christian in general, or Catholic in general, it's vital. And we can never let our guard down. And that may seem hard, but it's a joyful thing. Living in hope and being a steward of hope means that we always have joy in what we're doing. Even if we may be suffering physically or having a mental time of despair, the hope is always underlying that. And through God's grace, we can always know and count on Him and the good as a whole for what we need. Number 7, hope not for dark things, but only things of God. So it should go without saying that hoping for things that are sinful, or hoping for things that are against God in general, are fruitless. Not only is that hope misfounded, it's pretty much a perversion of hope as a whole. Hope was meant to steer a soul toward what is good, and when it is used instead to steer a soul toward what is bad, evil, or immoral, then that itself is a sinful act, because it's taking what God created for the betterment of humanity and making it into a twisted version that is meant for the detriment of humanity. And that's why we can never hope for something bad on someone else, something bad to happen to ourselves, or any other disordered mindset that may bring someone away from what is important and what is true. And so, wrapping things up, I do hope you take away from this video how important hope is. Even if it seems everything is lost, that there is no room for hope, because there always is. Hope should underlie everything that we do. Hope is important whether we're trying to hope for our own good or the good of another. And so today I ask you to meditate on, how is hope helping me to get through life and be the best person I can be. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's a shorter video today, which will happen sometimes, but I think it's still important nonetheless. I'll see you all next time. Please leave a comment, like, or whatever. I'd love to talk to you if you have any ideas or questions, and thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next Friday on Wonder of Faith. May God be with you and bless you. Bye-bye.